Hey, did you catch the highlights from the recent RBI Monetary Policy Committee meeting? Sounds like some pretty significant changes are happening.
Yeah, I did. It's a big deal, actually. The RBI, under the new Governor Sanjay Malhotra, cut a repo rate by 25 basis points, bringing it down to 6.25%. It's the first time they've done that since May 2020.
Wow, that's a pretty big move. I mean, what exactly does that mean for us, the average folks?
Well, a lower repo rate generally means that banks can borrow money from the RBI at a cheaper rate. And they might pass that on to us in the form of lower interest rates on loans, like home loans or car loans.
Okay, I see. So potentially cheaper borrowing costs. But why now? What drove them to make this decision?
Couple of things, really. The Indian economy has been pretty resilient despite all the global uncertainty. And also, they're trying to keep inflation in check while still supporting economic growth. It's like walking a tightrope.
Right, balancing act. So, what's their outlook on growth? Are they optimistic?
Generally, yes, they're projecting real GDP growth for 2024 2025 at 6.4%, driven by things like a recovery in private consumption, services, and agriculture. And they're even projecting 6.7% for 2025 2026.
That sounds pretty good, actually. I mean, what about inflation? Are they worried about that at all?
Of course, they're projecting CPI inflation at 4.8% for 2024 2025, and our 0.2% for 2025-2026. Food inflation is expected to soften, which is good news, but there are still risks like volatility in global financial markets and energy prices.
Makes sense. So basically, they're trying to stimulate growth without letting inflation get out of hand. It seems like a tough job.
It is. And that's why they're maintaining a neutral monetary policy stance. It gives them the flexibility to adjust as things change. So, about that neutral stance,
Yeah, what does that actually mean in practice?
well, it means they're not leaning too heavily towards either stimulating the economy or fighting inflation. They're keeping their options open, ready to respond to whatever comes their way.
Okay, that makes sense. So this repo rate cut, it's aimed at supporting growth, but they're also keeping a close eye on inflation.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that the last time they cut the repo rate was way back in May 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown. So this is a pretty significant shift. It might be a good time to check with a certified financial expert about your investment portfolio. Disclaimer, we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
Right, good point. Always good to get professional advice. Now, you mentioned global uncertainties. What are the main concerns there?
Well, things like geopolitical tensions, protectionist trade policies, and commodity price volatility are all potential risks. A strong dollar can also impact emerging market currencies like the rupee.
So, lots of moving pieces. It sounds like the RBI has to consider a lot of factors when making these decisions.
Absolutely. And they're also keeping an eye on things like household consumption, fixed investment, and services exports to get a better sense of where the economy is heading.
Okay, so they're looking at the big picture, trying to balance growth and inflation while navigating global uncertainties. Did they mention anything else interesting in the meeting?
Actually, yes. They talked about creating an exclusive domain name for financial sector entities to help avoid fraud, which is pretty cool. And they're also planning a comprehensive review of trading and settlement timings for markets regulated by the RBI.
Oh, interesting. So they're also focused on improving security and efficiency in the financial system. I guess that's all part of maintaining stability.
Exactly. And it shows that they're thinking about the long-term health of the economy, not just the immediate challenges. They also mentioned that the Indian economy, though strong, isn't immune to those global uncertainties.
Right, which makes sense. We're all connected in this global economy. So, summing it up, we've got a repo rate cut, a neutral stance, growth projections, inflation concerns, and a focus on stability.
Nailed it. And it all points to the RBI trying to carefully manage the economy through a pretty complex time. It's like trying to steer a ship through a storm, You have to adjust the sails constantly to stay on course.
A good analogy. So, what's your overall take? Are you optimistic about the future?
I'm cautiously optimistic. There are definitely challenges ahead, but the RBI seems to be taking a proactive approach. And the fact that they're projecting decent growth is encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to see them taking steps to support the economy while keeping an eye on inflation. So, about the repo rate cut for the first time since 2020.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign that they think the time is right to provide some stimulus. They had started raising rates in May 2022 because of the Russia-Ukraine war and paused in May 2023. So they're acting like, a responsible body who has been watching the data very closely.
Okay. And it sounds like they're confident that the flexible inflation targeting framework has served India well. I guess that's a key part of their strategy.
Absolutely. It's allowed them to be more data driven in their decision making, which is crucial in today's volatile environment. Well, it allows them to stay flexible like a gymnast, adjusting as things come, right?
Definitely. So, to our listeners, what do you think about the recent RBI decisions? Are you optimistic about the future of the Indian economy? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insights.
Yeah, would love to hear from you. And remember, these are complex issues, so do your own research and consult with financial professionals before making any decisions.